Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about something we hear all the time, which is just be yourself. You are perfect just the way you are, never change. People say this all the time, and it sounds sweet, it sounds harmless, it sounds uplifting, and it can be for certain people sometimes, but not always. That's why I want to talk about the self-love movement, which originally began to help people heal from insecurity, from shame, but is now often twisted into an excuse to avoid growth, to avoid responsibility, self-awareness, to dodge accountability altogether. To be fair, the phrase just be yourself can be helpful to some, maybe those who have grown up constantly being criticized, constantly compared to someone else, or made to feel like they are never enough. Because if you've spent your entire life trying to meet someone else's impossible standards, then yeah, hearing just be yourself can feel like a breath of fresh air. So it does have value for those who are trying to recover their identity, not escape responsibility. But just self-acceptance should not be the finish line. It's a way to tell yourself you're okay right now, but you are capable of more. Not, oh, I'm done, I'm perfect. I wonder if anyone knows the Courage the Cowardly Dog scene. It's so creepy, I love it.
You're not perfect.
But sometimes it gets messy, sometimes it can be dangerous, because the phrase just be yourself can be used as a sort of emotional armor, used to justify all kinds of behaviors that people refuse to take responsibility for. I'm not rude, I'm just setting boundaries. There's a right and a wrong way to do that. You might just be setting boundaries, or you might just be unnecessarily combative and calling it empowerment. Or the I'm not lazy, I'm just protecting my peace. Protecting it from what? Effort? Goals? Reality? Then it's a problem. Also, I'm not irresponsible, I'm just resting. Again, resting from what? If your entire life is rest, if you're constantly in your rest era, at some point it stops being self-care and starts being self-sabotage. So context is so important. That's why you shouldn't go around saying just be yourself to every single person. Because this radical version of self-acceptance is not healing, it's stagnation. And again, just be yourself depends on who you are. You wouldn't tell a serial killer, just be you. Just be yourself. Don't change a single thing about you. You're perfect just the way you are. You wouldn't say that to someone who's in active addiction. You wouldn't say that to someone who is abusive. You shouldn't say that to anyone else or yourself when you are stuck in destructive habits. Because if yourself right now means 12-hour screen time, numbing your brain, eating trash, sleeping in, not sleeping at all, and then wondering why you feel like 24/7, that's not the time to say, I'll just be myself, I'm perfect. That should not be your identity. That is a cycle. And for some people, they don't need more goo goo gaga talk. They don't just need a hug. They need a wake-up call, a strategy for becoming someone that they're actually proud of. And you are not a fixed character, okay? You are not your trauma or your worst moment. You are not a personality quiz result or one of the 200 labels that you've picked for yourself. And you're definitely not limited to your gender or your sexuality or your race or anything else that people obsess over nowadays, because those are facets of you, not the full picture. And sometimes people glamorize dysfunction under the guise of self-awareness. I'm just a procrastinator, teehee. I'm just so toxic in my relationships. Oops. Okay, and that's not quirky. That's not cute. That is something to work on. Just because you realize that and then do nothing doesn't actually help. It's actually worse when you've identified the problem and then chosen not to do anything about it. We need to stop romanticizing our worst habits just because change is hard. You're allowed to improve. You're supposed to improve. The trick is knowing what to change and who to listen to when deciding that. And wanting to improve yourself is not self-hatred. It's self-respect. Real confidence does not come from justifying your bad habits, saying that's just the way I am. No. And sometimes online, with influencers, there's a reason that they keep saying, you're already perfect. Hugs and kisses, it sells. People would rather hear you're flawless than there are certain issues you definitely have to address. For example, you may think it's a great idea to get your camera and film a mental breakdown and then post it. Anyone who actually cares about you would tell you, that's a terrible idea. You're gonna regret that. That is not an appropriate thing to post. But the nice thing would be to say, oh, your emotions are so valid, girly. Even if you know that comfort is keeping them stuck. Even if you know that's feeding them that attention that's gonna encourage them to post another mental breakdown. Telling someone that they're good enough no matter what might sound nice, but it traps them in that mediocrity. If top athletes said, I'm pretty good now, I'll just stop, they would never reach elite levels. They'd plateau, and that's what so many people are doing. Emotionally, creatively, spiritually, you're also allowed to grow without hating who you were. You could say, that part of me, that version of me served its purpose once. back then, but it's not serving me anymore. Some parts can stay, some parts have to go. Like, I have changed so much, especially in like the past 5-ish years. But even before, if like 13, 14-year-old me saw me right now, she'd be shocked. And thank goodness. If she saw me and was like, yeah, no, that's what I expect, I'd be in trouble. I would not be happy with that because there were habits I had to break, beliefs I had to unlearn, people I had to outgrow. And that didn't happen because I whispered, I am perfect just the way I am to myself. It happened because I was willing to be honest with myself. I said, this version of me is not living up to her potential. Let's do something about it. It is not easy, but it's so much better than staying stuck. Also, so many people have gotten so sensitive when it comes to feedback that any suggestion feels like an attack. But if your friend, let's say, of course it matters who it is, but someone close to you, they said, hey, this is what's pushing people away. I really think you have to work on this. Would you say, oh, I'm never talking to you again? Or would you listen and say, I care about this person. They care about me. Maybe this is something I should work on. Not every opinion is worth absorbing. But again, if it's someone you know, someone you trust, someone you know cares about you, maybe it is. It is not an attack. And if you don't have someone like that, you can do that yourself. You could journal this. You can say, who showed up this month? Was I proud of him or her? Were they focused? Were they disciplined? It's important to check on yourself. Now, some things you can fully embrace. It depends on the person, depends on what those traits are, but it could be your sense of humor, your values, your passions, even if other people don't agree, even if everyone doesn't understand them, because you can't make everyone happy. Not everyone is going to agree with you. It's impossible. So maybe that is something you should accept. Other things you should examine. It could be how you handle conflict, how you talk to people, how you cope with stress. That's where growth happens. So no, you're not perfect. No one is. And real self-love is not about standing still. It's about loving yourself enough to evolve, to change for the better. So instead of I'm perfect just the way I am, you could say, I'm proud of how far I've come. I'm still growing, and that's a good thing. I'm open to becoming better. And that's all for today's video, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Also remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.